Hi, I'm Emily Carver and this is GBN Originals. Now let me tell you something today. This latest move by VisitBritain to replace the term able-bodied with non-disabled is absolutely absurd. Yes, you heard me right. Britain's top tourist board, VisitBritain, now wants us to ditch a perfectly reasonable term because it supposedly perpetuates harmful stereotypes. Honestly, I don't know whether to laugh or cry at how far this woke madness has gone. Yes, according to VisitBritain's 50-page inclusive welcome guide, the term able-bodied is harmful and should be replaced with non-disabled. Why? Because the first term is apparently negative and offensive. They've also decided that phrases like suffers from, handicapped, or wheelchair-bound are out of bounds too. Instead, we're supposed to use language that doesn't evoke pity or suggest we know how someone feels about their impairment, really. Is this what we've come to? Policing words that most people have been using for decades without an issue. This isn't just about disability-related language either. Oh no, VisitBritain has gone all in on the woke dictionary. They're even telling us to stop using terms like blacklist, man-hours, and guru. Instead, they want us to say deny list, what? Person hours, and expert. I mean, come on. Are we seriously going to rewrite the English language just to avoid offending someone who might not even be offended in the first place? And let's not forget the other gems in this guide. Apparently, we're no longer allowed to call someone with dwarfism a dwarf. Instead, we should say they're a person with restricted growth or short stature. Look, I'm all for treating people with respect and dignity. Most of us are, but do we really need a 50-page manual to tell us how to do that? Most of us already know how to be decent human beings without being lectured by some overpaid bureaucrats. Now, let me ask you this. Who is this really helping? Do these language changes make life easier for disabled people? Or is this just another example of virtue signalling from a government body desperate to look progressive? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like the latter. Instead of focusing on real issues like perhaps making tourist attractions more accessible or improving public transport for disabled people, nope, VisitBritain is wasting your time and money on a guide that most people will either ignore or laugh at. And it's not just me saying this. Lord Young, the founder of the Free Speech Union, has called these recommendations a caricature of political correctness. He even joked about whether we'll soon have to describe Marilyn Monroe as non-ginger instead of blonde. Honestly, he's got a point. Where does this end? Are we going to start calling tall people non-short or people with perfect vision non-blind? It's absolutely ridiculous. But here's the thing. This isn't just about VisitBritain or their silly little guide. This is part of a much bigger problem. A growing trend where institutions in this country bend over backward to appease the woke mob instead of focusing on what really matters. Just look at the NHS, which recently told staff not to call overweight patients obese because it might hurt their feelings. Or Sutton Council in South London, which advised staff not to ask for someone's Christian name because it could be offensive. To who? And don't even get me started on Staffordshire Police telling officers not to say man up or policeman. It is utter madness. Now, the problem with all this woke nonsense is that it creates confusion and it creates resentment rather than fostering inclusivity. People are tired of being told what they can and can't say by bureaucrats who seem more interested in scoring diversity points than solving real problems. And let's be honest, most of these changes aren't coming from ordinary people, are they? Ordinary people who actually face discrimination or hardship. They're coming from privileged elites who think they know better than the rest of us.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.
Shall we break this down further? Because I think it deserves some scrutiny. First, there's the argument that terms like able-bodied perpetuate harmful stereotypes. Well, where on earth is the evidence for this claim? For decades, people have used such terms without malicious intent or a negative impact on those with disabilities. The real harm comes when we focus so much on language policing that we ignore tangible barriers disabled individuals face daily. Poor infrastructure, inaccessible public spaces, limited job opportunities. Take wheelchair accessibility as an example. Many tourist attractions across Britain still lack proper ramps ramps or elevators for wheelchair users. Public transport remains a nightmare often for those with mobility issues, trains without step-free access, buses without functioning lifts, the list goes on. These are the real problems that demand attention and funding, not whether someone says able-bodied instead of non-disabled. And then there's the broader issue of rewriting everyday language under the guise of inclusivity. Terms like blacklist, terms like man hours, they've been part of our lexicon for generations without causing widespread offence. Yet now we're being told they're problematic and must be replaced with alternatives like deny list and person hours. This isn't about inclusion, is it really? Come on, it's about control. It's an attempt by bureaucrats and activists to dictate how we speak and try and dictate how we think. Even the word guru has been flagged as inappropriate because it supposedly appropriates Hindu culture. I mean, good grief. But let's be honest, how many people using guru in casual conversation are doing so in a disrespectful manner? It's long been understood as a term for an expert or mentor in any field, not an intentional slight against anyone's religious beliefs. And what about phrases like suffers from or wheelchair bound? Sure, they might evoke pity in some context, but does banning them solve anything? Language evolves naturally over time based on societal norms and usage patterns, not through top-down mandates from whatever government agency of the day it is. So here's my message to Visit Britain. Stop patronising us. Stop treating ordinary people like we're too stupid or too insensitive to use common sense when talking about sensitive issues. And most importantly, stop wasting taxpayers' money on guides that do nothing but alienate the very people you claim to be helping. So if you really want to make Britain more inclusive, focus on actions, not words. Make sure every tourist attraction in the country is wheelchair accessible. Provide better training for staff so they can assist disabled visitors properly. And how about investing in public transport so that disabled people can actively get around without hassle? So these are the kinds of changes that make a real difference, I imagine, not telling tour guides what words they can and can't use. At its core, this debate isn't just about semantics, is it? It's about priorities. Are we going to spend our time policing language while ignoring systemic issues? Or are we going to roll up our sleeves and tackle the real challenges facing marginalised communities? At the end of the day, folks, we need to push back against this creeping culture of censorship and control. Because if we don't, where does it stop? Today it's able-bodied, tomorrow it could be something even more ridiculous. Heck, the day after it could be something even more absurd. We need to stand up for free speech and common sense before they're completely eroded by this relentless march of wokery. So let me leave you with this thought. Language matters, yes, but actions matter more. Let's focus on building a society where everyone feels included and valued, not one where we're constantly walking on eggshells for fear of saying the wrong thing. That's my take. What's yours? Do leave a comment under this video, give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. So by becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please do consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.